And so I'm not surprised that there is a lot of like, what does this mean if I'm a member of more than one racial group? What does that mean for my identity? Or if I am a member of a racial group, but I'm raised by people of a different racial group, what does that mean for my identity? And so what I would say for parents is like, you have to be aware that that is a journey, number one, and then learn how to support it. So if you've got a transracially adopted kid living in an area where no one else around them looks like them, that should be your clue of, oh, how can they go on this journey if I don't even give them access to the people that help them, the
That's
same way
so
that
good.
Yes. You have to be in it to pull from it. You can't, it's not an assumption of like, well, you're born black, so you're black, the end. Like, there's culture and there's learning that this kid has to be able to have access to, and then be able to say, I like that about I want to identify like that too, or I want to adopt that in my own life, or, ooh, I don't like this, and so maybe I won't carry that forward. They have to have access to it to do that. So any way they can do that is what I always am going to push for.
I think we're good to go.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Heritage Talks. We're having our back to school edition, and I'm so excited. We have a very special guest with us today. We have Dr. Jen in from LA. And we're going to be talking all things mixed race on this edition of Heritage Talks. So let's just get right into it. Dr. Jen.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us all about Free to Be Collective and what inspired you to start it, and what is it doing for families?
All right. Well, Free to Be Collective, this is my, organization that I started maybe just a few years ago, honestly. So it is relatively new, and my whole goal behind it is it's really for any marginalized group to be encouraged to have representation, visibility, and again, the freedom to be exactly who they are. The reason why I named it Free to Be is because there are just so many groups, but specifically the mixed race population, that is pushed and expected to identify a certain way, to just fit into a certain box. And so there's a lot of like pressure and constrainment. And so this is where I want you to be free, just free to be yourself. Stop worrying about what everybody else wants you to do and who they want you to be. So that's where the name came from. Within that organization, I am providing services and support for families raising mixed race kids, again, because the family themselves are also marginalized. This is not a quote unquote normal or typical setup for a family. And so the families also need support too. So my background, just before I started Free to Be Collective, I'm a psychologist. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I have a private practice in Los Angeles. And I work with all different people, again, all marginalized populations. A lot of times it's women of color, a lot of teenagers, but a specialty area is the mixed race population. So I see a lot of mixed race adults, a lot of mixed race teens. And because I am only licensed in California, I can only see those families. And Free to Be came out of that, where I said, you know what, not only do I want to reach more people, I know there are a bunch of families that live in the Chicagos or the Wisconsins or the Floridas of the world, and they don't have access to the education they need, the services, the support that they need. So the Free to Be Collective provides the coaching for the parents of these kids. It provides other products and services for either the kids or the parents, and that those can be, span the globe, really, not even the United States. I have clients in Canada, England, et cetera. So that's a little bit about how the Free to Be was an outgrowth of the work that I was already doing.
Yeah, and I love it. I love the boldness.
Yes,
with which you lead your organization. And also one of the things that I love is the boldness of the posts that you put out there on Instagram. If you're not following Free to Be, you should be following Free to Be Collective on Instagram so you can see the valuable information and resources that she's putting out there.
And I'll just jump in. The Instagram page is still Dr. Jen Psych, DrJennPSYCH. So you want to look that up, and then you'll see all the educational posts about, families raising mixed race kids. And I try to be bold, or the word I like to use is resistance, because again, it's more pushing back against societal expectations, societal limitations. So I kind of try to teach how you can do that and why essentially identity is your own and rules don't matter, or rules are meant to be broken, especially if the rule is built off the wrong thing in the first place.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure we post those those tags for you below, so you want to check for that. How has your personal experiences shaped your approach to how you coach mixed race families?
Yeah, that's the unique piece, I guess, for me, is that I am mixed race myself. I am African American and Sri Lankan Tamil. So Sri Lanka is a small island off the coast of India. And so my whole experience growing up has been as a mixed race person, with its own unique pieces being because of my particular background. But over the years, especially like in college and beyond, I started to find that as I either read more research around mixed race folks or met other people, there was this universal shared experience. And so that's always just been a passion of mine, is to be connected to that, that work, that learning, and that knowledge. So I used to work at a nonprofit that's located in Southern California. And that just fueled the piece of like, I really like this topic. I really like this community. It kept me connected to the community. It connected me actually to a lot of other leaders in the community. And it really became helpful, because now doing this work, when I meet other parents, when I meet other families, I can tell them like, well, look up this, and wait, there's this event coming, and well, you got to connect to that. Have you read this book? And haven't you seen this movie? And it's sort of like so normal to me. I'm like, wow, people don't know these things. Somebody needs to be able to provide it for them. So I'm always looking to either connect organizations together or just provide the information myself. So yeah, it's a personal journey for me, and I say it's unique because this, when I work with a parent or when I work with a family, my perspective is that of a mixed race person. So I can tell them from personal experience, but also from the research, hey, this is what you want to pay attention to, or this is why. And then I can say, I went through something similar, but it's not so much about, oh, here's what I went through, don't do this. It's more like, I know what the research and what the hundreds of people that have been studying this since late 80s or whatever have been saying. I'm here to provide it for you, and I can give you personal context, which will help it land. I think a lot of times the folks that work with these folks are not always mixed race themselves, so it just makes a difference.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So let's just start at the top and work down. So let's just say that I'm, entering into a biracial relationship. Mm-hmm. And, we're talking about having kids and a family. Like, practically for that family, like, what should those conversations look like at the point where you make a decision that I'm going to enter a relationship with another person of a different race, mm-hmm. right? Meaning I'm going to be raising kids in the world that are mixed race. Mm-hmm. Like, what should those conversations look like for families out there that are deciding to take that journey?
Yeah, I think actually there's a lot of discussions that interracial couples should be having, hopefully are having. I mean, it's got to be things like, before even talking about kids, it has to be understanding the other person's experience in the world, especially racially. So you want to be able to make sure you can discuss and talk about, how were you treated? What are the things that you saw? How did your family experience race in this country? How were you taught to believe about all the different groups, not just the one that I'm a part of, and really start to get a lay of the land of feelings about racism, understanding about the racial history in this country, maybe even in the city and the state that you're in, so that you get some groundwork for what a child might be entering. But especially when it comes to kids, an interracial couple has to talk about child rearing, extended family, cultural representation, religion. I mean, that's a really big one that sometimes can be overlooked if they're not already the same religion, because a lot of religion comes with certain cultural practices, and you might be surprised, like, no, we're definitely going to do this, and the other one's like, what? Since when? So a lot of those nuances of culture that perhaps a parent is taking for granted because it was just so normal for them growing up, you really have to be able to lay that on the table. Like, can we do this? And how do you feel about that? And, just a quick example, I knew of a family where a little bit of their, I won't say it was a conflict, but a difference was around celebrating Christmas. And you think, Christmas, it's Christmas. But one family, because of their Latinx background, they celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve. And the other family their side of the family was not. So they did Christmas on Christmas Day, like Christmas morning. And, we got to get up and do this. So you sort of think, oh, yeah, just do both. But it's actually kind of tough. And whose family gets invited to which event? And if you do Christmas Eve, you are up super late. And so what happens to Christmas morning? And then are those folks going to come back? I mean, it really became quite like detailed, and they didn't realize it wasn't just a simple, we'll just do one year and one the other. And so, and it meant different things to different people. And you have a lot of personal ties to your family tradition. So those things need to be discussed ahead of time. And then you can get to how are we going to address our mixed race child? Like, how are we going to make sure they have access to all of this and connect them to culture and help them talk about their experience? And do we understand what they're going to face in the world? That's probably a later, once you get the other groundwork, then that other thing will be easier to talk about.
Yeah, I love that. So what you're saying is it's not just about being in love.
Right. Right.
But it takes intentionality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Especially because it's going to be having significant impact on your children
Yeah.
and how they live in the world, how they experience the world as a mixed race person.
Yeah.
So,
And you as a couple.
Yes.
I mean, we can't ignore that there are a lot of interracial couples that the cultural differences do them in. If they really don't know how to communicate about it, a lot of times there can be some conflict that drives them apart because they just couldn't figure out how to meet somewhere in an area of agreement over the big cultural differences that maybe they didn't think were so big when they were in love.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Something we hear in our community a lot from our young people is that they feel like they don't belong to either community. Like they're searching for this sense of belonging. And what would you say to some of the young people in our community who might be experiencing that? Like, I don't belong to either. Like, I don't know where I belong. I'm struggling with my sense of belonging.
Yeah, I hear that. I just think that what's happening is, one, they're looking for validation from another group to grant them belonging. So you won't feel like you belong if you're waiting for someone to say, you should be in this group. You have to find it from the inside first. And so my response to that is always, you belong in both or all three, however many pieces are in your background, you already belong in those groups because look at who your parents are. Look at who your family is. To me, it's such a default, like, hello, in what way do you not belong in the Black community? You got Black grandparents, you got, just look at the whole side and how many hundreds of years and thousands of years it goes back, and you don't belong. You were born of them, right? So the end. But like I said, I think that doesn't land that way because they're thinking, but that group told me, or that one person, or those two people from that larger group said I don't belong, or they made me feel like I didn't know something. So it has to start from, oh, wait, hold on. I am already connected. I am already, by ancestry, by relation, these are the groups I'm a part of, and now I have to walk into the world and know that and not wait for someone to grant it to me.
Yeah, that's great. What are some of the biggest identity challenges you see children in multiracial families face?
Yeah.
Like where I'm struggling with that sense of who I am, particularly for families in our community who are in transracial adoptive families, where I'm living in a community where I don't see a lot of representation, but I'm trying to find it, right? And so what do you say to that? Like that sense of identity and that building that identity. What do you say to the parents, and how can they help foster that in their children.
Yeah, I mean, I do separate it out a little bit for transracially adopted kids versus a mixed race kid. But I think some of the top challenges, they are always around identity. This is why I care so much about identity and read about it. I try to teach about it because identity really is a very personal, internal journey, but we can support it so much if we are aware of this journey. So much of us as adults, we kind of ignore the fact that we went through the same thing. We had to, no matter whether you're monoracial, mixed race, adopted or not, everyone had to go through this moment of like, wait, who am I? How does what someone told me I need to be fit with who I am? The easiest example would be to just think about, if you were raised a certain religion, you might have been told, okay, this is what we do. This is what you are. You are also this religion, and we do it this way, and every week we do da-da-da. At some point, that kid still has to be like, but do I want to do it that way? Am I going to continue? Can I stay home from church today? What? What do you mean you want to? Well, and then
No.
and then that kid might be like, okay, never mind. We're just going to go. We're going to go ahead and go. But maybe when that kid gets to college, when it's a little bit safer, they're not going to get in trouble. Maybe even older, they might be like, you know what? Actually, I don't agree with that part of it. And actually, I don't like this. And maybe I don't want to go every week. So that is a journey. And there's a lot of pain in there. Sometimes people, to quote unquote, leave or change their religious practices can be like, oh, can I do this? Should I do it? So that's an aspect of identity, and so race is too. So there are so many facets to that. And so I'm not surprised that there is a lot of what does this mean if I'm a member of more than one racial group? What does that mean for my identity? Or if I am a member of a racial group, but I'm raised by people of a different racial group, what does that mean for my identity? And so what I would say for parents is you have to be aware that is a journey, number one, and then learn how to support it. So if you've got a transracially adopted kid living in an area where no one else around them looks like them, that should be your clue of, oh, how can they go on this journey if I don't even give them access to the people that help them, the
That's
same way
so
that
good.
Yes. You have to be in it to pull from it. You can't, it's not an assumption of well, you're born black, so you're black, the end. There's culture and there's learning that this kid has to be able to have access to, and then be able to say, I like that about I want to identify like that too, or I want to adopt that in my own life, or, ooh, I don't like this, and so maybe I won't carry that forward. They have to have access to it to do that. So any way they can do that is what I always am going to push for.
That's so good. And we have someone in our community, most recently, that experienced a situation living in a predominantly white area, and their child going to a predominantly white school, where there was an inappropriate play that was done, and it was highly offensive.
Like sexually?
Right? No, racially.
Okay.
And it made her daughter feel uncomfortable in the way that the play was being presented about slavery.
Oh, this is a school play.
This is a school
I see.
play.
I thought you meant like playing together.
No. This is a school play.
Got it.
And conversation came up, about, what do we do in situations where our child is one of the only, right, in an environment where the school is doing an educational program in a way that can be highly offensive, right, to multiracial families. So what can a parent do, first of all, and then how can schools and communities properly be aware of and even support, families that are multiracial in their community? Like, what should be the conversation?
Yeah. I mean,
I know that's kind of heavy, but.
Well, I'd say it's heavy. Like, what can the schools do? I mean, it's a school. It should have known what to do.
True.
And there's so many reasons why they don't do what they should be doing. But the family, to start with the family, you have to make a clear decision. Am I supporting my child or not? Because if you are not, then you would have this confusion and this question of what should I do? My kid didn't like it. And, what are my options? That to me says you're not really full on supporting the kid. Because if the kid comes home and says, I was highly offended by this play, this is ridiculous, and I'm the only one, and I have to sit there and I'm, embarrassed, and the students are looking at me, then you got to be like, oh, what? No, we're about to go to the school. We're going to talk to whoever we need to talk to. We're going to write letters. What would you like to do, child? Do we want to do something together? Do you have a meeting that you'd like to call? Like, that says to me, we believe you and we are here to support you. What do you think needs to change about how the school did all the things? And we're going to do our best to advocate for you. And we have the adult voice to do so. So if we need to write letters, if we need to call the district, if we need to have a meeting with the principal, we'll do it. We'll put ourselves out. We'll be that family. And if the other parents are going to look at us sideways, oh, well, because we're here for you
Let 'em
first.
look.
Yeah.
As I say, let them look.
Yeah. But that's why I say your first choice is, well, who are you here for? You trying to keep the school comfortable?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So what role does hair care? Because, I'm all about hair. Hair and these curls.
Yeah.
What role does hair care, cultural connection, and representation, how does that impact a kid's sense of self, and how important it is?
Oh, my gosh. So if this is a kid that, honestly, all hair care is important, right? And to some extent, hair does come up, especially in mixed race kids, no matter their background. So you could have a child that is, Asian and white, for example, East Asian and white, and we might think, hair, what's the big deal? But sometimes that can have quite an impact on how they see themselves if they are Asian and white, but their hair is like light brown, and they feel like, oh, I would look more Asian in their mind if my hair was like jet black, like whatever my parent has. So hair shows up in a lot of different ways for mixed race kids, but especially when you have a child that has a parent of African descent, the whole diaspora, no matter whether it's Caribbean, Africa, whatever, that it becomes a whole different piece of the puzzle, just because there is such negative stigma, and there's just not a lot of acceptance of textured, curly, kinky hair. And so for a child to have that and have a parent that doesn't understand the importance of that, that's the first big piece of identity that can turn into like internalized kind of shame and self-hatred, because they haven't been taught to understand, number one, what it is that grows out of their hair, but they're not taught to understand what rich, like, thousand of year history and culture is tied to the hair. So once you are able to do that, once this child is able to have that exposure and education, it changes the game big time. I'm just working with a mom right now where she was able to, first, the daughter is not a fan of her textured hair at all. She wants mom to.
We find that a lot.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
She's your mom. The girl just tie it back, put it away. Like, I don't want it out at all, because it doesn't, hang or something like it's supposed to. This is a little girl. So, with some support, because mom's like, I also don't know what I can do with it. So even I'm struggling on how to like make some styles for her. She was able to make friends at work that had similar texture hair. This is a good enough friend that they can come over, and they were able to do some braids on the little girl, like some cornrows. And we're just finding all the ways of like finding a couple TV shows where here's some styles, and here you have this neighbor who looks like you, and she's got her hair in that style, and can we do your hair? And little by little, this girl's like, oh, and the son is like, can you do my hair too? There's just this whole of like, oh, wait, we can embrace this. I like this style. I like the way it looks. And the parent feels empowered because they're like, okay, I think I can also try to do this next time if this friend is not available. So,
yeah, that's good. And I'm going to tell you parents out there, you can do it.
yeah.
There is help available. We're here to help
Yeah.
you. And that's one of the values of community.
Yeah.
And having a community, that's what I hear and what you're saying is that this mom has a community,
Yes.
right, that she can go to that to help her to understand where she's struggling, which is amazing.
Right.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about some comments that I saw on your Instagram page.
Okay. Okay.
One of
boy.
one of your posts was in response to someone saying, "You look exotic."
Uh-huh.
Talk a little bit about that. What should be a response that someone would
Yeah,
have?
so the exotic comment, it's a very common comment that parents with often younger mixed race kids get. Maybe even a baby up to probably like 6, 7, 8 you might get. And then after that, it might change. They may not say it in that same way. And oftentimes then the comments will then be directed directly at the kids as they get older. And so that's also uncomfortable for them. But the exotic comment is just, it's usually said in the tone of like what you would say when you go to the zoo and you've seen an animal you've never seen before, like, ooh, what is that? Why do they look like that? You know, and so the parents feeling very like, hold on, what's happening? And sometimes those comments are sexualizing, which is also very uncomfortable for the parents. So how to respond? I mean, there's a million different ways to respond, but I try to help a parent find a way to like shut down that moment or give it back to the person. So when the person is like, oh, look at their eyes, like, where are they from? Or, ooh, can I touch their hair? Where'd they get that hair from? You can kind of say, oh, you know, what do you mean their eyes? Like, they're just eyes. I'm not sure what you mean. And kind of make them spell it out, make them uncomfortable, make them realize what they're doing and being intrusive and being, you know, nosy, essentially.
That's good, Jan.
Yeah, so that they can kind of take, otherwise the parent feels a lot of pressure to kind of be like, well, now I have to like explain this whole family background and why my kid looks the way they do. Why aren't you asking all the other kids why they look like this? You know, it's a burden that the parent is now having to bear when really the other person is the one that has the curiosity. So you tell us why you're curious. Why do you need to know this information? Why did you have to stop your day to come and ask us about our lives? You know, so, and I think in some instances, the parents can then teach the kids how to respond as well. I was working with a mom, she lived in the Northeast, and her daughter not only had big, you know, beautiful curls, like textured hair, but it was red. And so the mom was not able to catch on at first because she would realize that people were in the grocery store just leaving their cart right where they were and like running over to the kid to try to touch her daughter's hair or be like, oh my God, yeah. And so at first she's kind of like, what is happening? And even the daughter would sort of be like, hands in my hair. So she had to work, because it happened so much every single day, that she and her daughter worked together, which empowered the little girl because she felt like, well, my mom's got my back. So now when people come up to her, the little girl can say, she has a bunch of different responses of like, nope, step back, like don't touch my hair, like I'm not okay with any of what you're doing. And the mom can back her up. And this is how they deal with some of these very exotifying like moments and comments. So, you know, there's, like I said, there's so many ways to deal with it, but I always try to take the empowering approach. Like, this is not your problem, it's other people.
Yes, that's so good. And one of the things that I always say is that, you know, our families are very different, you know, and sometimes, you know, people are just amazed, you know, and they're just curious, really, but they just don't know how to approach it. And so what are some common misconceptions you think that people have in general about mixed race families?
A lot of misconceptions. What are the most common misconceptions? Probably one that there's some fetishizing in the relationship, like, oh, I see what you did. Like, oh, you're married to whoever, fill in the blank. Oh, yeah, I heard they're all like this. You know, some sort of sexual stereotype is applied to whatever the group is, whether it's, you know, Asian, Latina, you name it. So there's usually some commentary about that. And maybe if one of the parents is from another country, there's a misconception of like, oh, you got together to get your green card, or they're using you, huh? Or just, you know, just stuff like that. And then when it comes to the kids, it's often who do I identify with more? How are you going to raise them? Oh, well, they look, this to me. Are you going to raise them that? And oh, certainly. Oh, they look so much more. Let's say if they have a white parent. Oh, they look so white. You should just raise them white. That's just better.
Wow.
Those are often misconceptions that people have, and their own beliefs that they then put on the family. And no one really assumes that this could be a couple where these are two people that just went to college together and they fell in, like, this is actual families. I mean, at least 3 or 4 families that I work with, they're like, we just met in college and I wasn't trying to plan to marry someone who wasn't of my racial group, but we just did. And this is what happened and we worked it out, People don't assume that.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, because you can't really, or you shouldn't. Like, you should fall in love with who you want to fall in love with.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so you shouldn't say, oh, well, I don't want to fall in love with them because they're this race or whatever the case may be. People should be able to be free to be able to be in relationship with who they want, right?
Yeah.
And so let's talk about some of the common mistakes or oversights that you see. I'll call them oversights that you see in mixed race families or even transracial adopted families. Let's talk about both.
Yeah.
Like, what do you feel like are some things that parents are missing or could be classified as mistakes that, in the long term they see as being an issue in their families?
I think one of the biggest oversights is talking about race and racism. There are so many families that are either raising a transracially adopted kid or a mixed race kid, and they never open the topic about race or racism in any way. I think that is a humongous oversight. If nothing else, you already have a family structure that challenges everything we know about or everything we believe about race. And so to not open that discussion within your own family really sets the kid at a loss, because all the rest of the kids are going to see that this family doesn't quite, match whatever we expect race to do. And so they're going to ask that kid to explain themselves, explain your existence, explain why you look the way you do, explain why your parents look like that, and explain adoption, explain all the things. And if this kid has never had any discussion about it, they are going to be shocked and stuck in silence. I mean, so I have an event called the Free to Be Fest, which we had your lovely work present as.
It's a great event.
Yes, to help support our parents with their understanding of hair care. And what I found fascinating is you would not believe. So this is an event that is centering the mixed race experience. So it's meant for families raising mixed race kids. It's meant for mixed race folks themselves and anybody else that loves them, And I think everybody would be so surprised at how many people, either from the audience or on one of our panel discussions, said that they were never even told what race they were as a child, and they had to figure it out on their own, or that their peers would tell them, I think you're this, and they'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I guess that makes sense if that's what they're supposed to look like. But imagine, so a lot of these were funny stories because these kids would then go back to their parents and say, oh yeah, well, because I'm Puerto Rican, and the parents would be like, what? Since when are you Puerto? And they're like, wait, what? I'm not? And the parents are like, of course you're not. But the kid's like, how was I supposed to know? You never, and everybody's asking me what I am, and I don't know what to answer. So I was just shocked. I'm like, how many families are out there not even basically saying, hey, did you know this parent is this, and this is this, and that means you are both or 3 or whatever. So I think that is a big, big oversight. That's what I mean, very basic level. Are you even telling your child what their background is? Especially for transracially adopted kids. There are so many that, and there are some really interesting documentaries out there about this, where a transracially adopted kid, the one I'm thinking of is a person of African descent, was never told anything, but I think he might have been mixed race as well, but his skin was just a little bit lighter. And they just tried to be like, oh, no, you just have a tan. Oh, well, we have some Italian back here. And the kid was just like, why wouldn't you If you're going to make up those stories, why don't you just sit down and be like, let me tell you why you look like that. Let me tell you why your hair is this.
Absolutely.
Because then all his peers are like, you ain't Italian. And, no, you're not this, you know?
Yeah, and that's a very good point because we had a program that we were doing a few years back, and we would have the kids come in, and I remember when I realized that the very thing that you're talking about is a huge issue in transracial adoptive families, because we were talking about culture, right, and how, you know, you have the culture of your heritage, you have the culture that you're growing up in, you know, and you can be from more than one culture, you know, we were talking, and so we were asking the kids to like share, you know, what culture you were from. And I remember, and I will never forget it because me and the other lady teaching the class, we were in tears. But the young man, he said, I don't know, I just know that I eat a lot of Mexican food and a lot of Asian food. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's 11.
Yeah.
And
He's 11.
And he didn't know what culture he was from.
Right.
And, you know, later on we learned he was Puerto Rican. But it's like, you're 11 and you don't know? Like, that should never happen.
Yeah.
Right? A person has to know, you know, what culture they're from. So I agree with you. I think that's a huge oversight that parents are missing. And even making that culture part of your family.
Yes, that's the other oversight.
It's not the culture I'm from.
Right.
But it's the culture that my child is. And we have to embrace every part of who our family is in this multicultural family that we have, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. I think that's a huge oversight that parents are missing.
Yeah.
And also, as you said, seemingly so basic.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about the importance of community.
Okay.
Because parents, you got to have it. So
Yeah.
I want Dr. Jen to address it.
Yeah.
How important is community and having that?
Oh, like you said, we could probably stop right there. You need community. The end. Like, you have to have community. And the way I try to approach it, I think we talked a little bit this morning at our other event, I try to think about three things. So depending on the background of the family, I'm thinking of a mixed race kid where one parent is from one racial group and the other parent is from a different racial group. Many times you can have a parent that is also from two different racial groups. So it could be two, it could be three, it could be more. But there's three areas of community that you would need. So you'd need the community of one parent. So connecting them to either extended family and that larger community. You need the community of the second parent. And then you need this third community, which is the mixed race community, right? Or in this case, if we're talking about transracially adopted families, you need the community of other transracially adopted families. You need to be able to have...
So good.
Yeah, you need to have
valuable.
your kid meet, not only know, okay, this is the culture of my parents. Maybe I'm adopted by two Polish parents. Great, I need to learn about that. Fine. I also need to understand and be connected to the community that I am. If I'm an African-American child that is adopted by them, well, I need to be connected to this African-American community. But then I also need to meet other kids like me who were transracially adopted by other parents so that I can realize I'm not alone, so that I can talk with them about some of the same, so that I can say, oh, me too. Everybody needs a moment where they go, me too. Oh, your mom did that, or people ask you that, or you went through that. So for the mixed race folks, it would be the mixed race community and then again, all the cultures that they are a part of. So in any and all the ways that you can find and connect to community in the most intimate of ways is what I would suggest. I think a lot of the parents that I sometimes talk to start with, I'm connecting them to their culture because I hung some, pictures in the house. And I'm like, that's great. That's representation. The community is the people. So we need you to get to the people as well. Oh, well, they're not close by and I don't really know anybody. Okay, well, we're gonna go meet some. We're gonna go start from scratch. And if you got Nigerian situation going on here, we're gonna go down to the Nigerian restaurant, or we're gonna find, if we can't, we're gonna find an African restaurant because someone in there is going to know somebody that's Nigerian. And then you're going to to be uncomfortable, and you are going to meet people, and you're going to make small talk and say, where do the other Nigerians hang out? Is there another festival? Is there something on the weekend? And then you're going to take your kid to that. You know what I mean? That's the community is the people, because we want the nuances of culture to be learned by the kid. You know, that's why it's so beautiful that you have a salon, because it's not just about hair care. Now this kid can go in there and hear Black women doing Black women things, and they don't explain it, but the kid just absorbs it, and they're like, ooh, oh, that's funny. Oh, so this music, I heard this song last time I was here, you know.
Yes.
And then start to understand, this is culture. This is unique to this group of people.
That's right.
You can't learn that by just hanging one thing on the wall.
You can't, and the salon is the best place to learn Black culture. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I had to tell one of our moms, because she was like bringing snacks and stuff, and I said, girl, you have to bring that here. Mm-hmm. She want these snacks. Let her have the snacks, right?
Have you seen Colin in Black on Netflix?
Oh, yes. It's amazing. That's homework. Remember, if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it, parents.
Colin in Black and White on Netflix, done by Ava DuVernay, is exactly what you just said. There is a scene where he goes to the hair salon, and they had food, and the mom is sitting there, and he was like, he was chowing down on the food, but it was the whole experience, and he's like, I want to go back there, and yes, I want to get my hair done, but the mom was able to buy some products. All the things happen in that moment, and that is such a rich piece of culture.
It is, and you want to make sure your kids are immersed in that as much as possible, and you too. So don't just let them eat the food. You should be eating it too.
Right.
Don't just let them learn how to cook the food. You should be cooking it too, right? Exposing them to all aspects, right? And it takes intentionality. Mm-hmm. And be intentional. That is the word for today.
Yes, I agree.
Be intentional. And even in part of that whole free to be, there's a part of intentionality to that too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because you can't be free to be who you are, right? If you don't learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortableness. Right. And that takes intentionality.
Yes.
So let's talk to those mixed race kids that might be out there watching this. What's one word of encouragement that you would give to them? Especially, we talked about this earlier, like if they're struggling with their own mental health, you know, like around being mixed race and maybe not having such a great upbringing, right? And I'm still struggling with some things. Like, what do you say to them as a word of encouragement?
I think two things. One is to the side of like struggle. I think a lot of times mixed race kids can feel like it's a very lonely experience. Again, like nobody really understands what I'm going through. They don't really get it. So the first word of encouragement would be connect yourself to the mixed race community. Even if you have to start online, there are safe pages and places where you can connect to other mixed race folks. Again, I'll give you one page is Mixed in America. You can check out my Instagram page. It is, I create a space that is supportive and safe for mixed race folks. If people go crazy in my comments, you're blocked. That's it. You can go somewhere else and find all the hatred of mixed race folks. I'm not going to allow it to just pile up on my page. And I think a couple of those other pages do that as well. But then my second piece is, my word of encouragement is to not look for the validation or the belonging from other people. You don't look to be told that you're enough of whatever the thing is, Asian enough, Black enough, Latino enough. You don't look for that from other people, because there is no one answer. You're going to get yes from one person and then two no's from these people, and then these people over here are going to say, nah, not at all. And where do you get your final answer? You got to ignore that. You can't look for the enoughness from the outside, because the outside doesn't even agree with each other. There are monoracial people, meaning two parents that are both Black, for example, who also get told they're not Black enough. So at what point, who really gets to be Black enough, and who agrees on the one person that is Black enough? Someone's always going to sit back and be like, nah, you just did that thing, you're fired, you lost your Black card, So you can't go to that. You have to, that's why I say you have to focus on ancestry and who do I know myself to be already, and that is enough. And if I need to learn culture, then I will go and do that. But I'm not going to wait for someone else to tell me I'm enough, to tell me I belong, to tell me I'm doing it right or doing it wrong, because that never ends.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, I love this amazing organization that you created, and I just encourage all of you to get involved. But what's next for Free to Be Collective?
Oh, well, what's next for the Free to Be Collective? So we now have like an offshoot, which is a nonprofit. That's the Free to Be Fest. So I was going to say what's next is Free to Be Fest next year is September 19th, and it's going to be a day-long event for anyone who is mixed race, and also for the parents who are raising transracially adopted kids. If you said to yourself, ooh, I do want my kid to meet other mixed race folks, or I want to meet other parents like me, that's one of the events that you can come to. So that's what's kind of coming next. And then as far as the Free to Be Collective, what's next is I continue to do the parent coaching, and I have my parent community, and hopefully I'll be putting out some affirmation cards for mixed race kids pretty soon, so that'll be fun.
I love that. Affirmation is so important,
Yeah.
especially for kids
Yes.
that are struggling with identity and,
Yeah.
and healthy self-esteem and development. You got to have those affirmations going.
Yes.
So I can't wait to see your affirmation cards.
Yay!
Tell people how they can reach you.
You can follow me on almost all the socials at Dr. Jen Psych, and that's DRJENN. It's 2 N's with the word psych. And then you can email me at drjen with 2 N's at freetobecollective.com.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
This is so fun.
And thank you all of you being here with us. I'm so excited because at Styles for Kids, we are celebrating 15 years of impact in this community. And I'm so excited to be celebrating that with all of you. And so we are looking for 500 champions to support Styles for Kids with a monthly gift of $15 a month to say you are with us and that you support us for the next 15 years. So you're going to see information right below here on how to give. And so become part of the family, become a champion for Styles for Kids, and make sure that we're here to continue giving valuable resources to families for many, many years to come. We also want to send a special shout out to our sponsor, K18 Hair. Thank you for always being there for us. So that concludes this edition of Heritage Talks. We'll be right back here in November for Adoption Awareness Month. Until then, take care.